Mahalo for lover, and welcome into another episode of the 135 Footy Show, proudly part of the WesWes Network. You can go check us out on YouTube at the WesWes Sports channel, also at our home, WesWesNet.com. You'll be able to check us out, all the other podcasts, as well as all the columns written by the boys on the team. Welcome you and the rest of the team. Bob Savalio, how are you?
Yeah, good, bro. It's been a good start to the week. Well, it looks like the weather's about to pack in, so hopefully it's not too wet for the last game on Friday.
Exactly. Nice. Stacey, hey, good to have you back, Us.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Good to be back on again. Always good. 3 Warriors fans, and we're just killing it on the podcast and on the field. So, yeah, cheers, boys.
Exactly. Great comments. Yep, 3 on the trot, 3 rounds gone. We're into round 4. A lot of excitement over that last round. A lot of stuff happening as well. So let's get straight into it. We'll go to the good stuff as usual. Our All Eyes Awards. I'll come to you first, Bobby. Who you got standing out over the weekend, man?
Well, tough to go past the Warriors' performance, bro. I'm not trying to be one-eyed super fan here, but
hey, when they're up, they're up.
Yeah, man, they are. And I thought Tana Boyd had another outstanding game, but for me this week, I give my all eyes to Taintel Bicky. Like, that guy was the man out the back. And what I enjoyed, especially about his game, like, we all know him for his electric attack, his speed off the mark, being able to be there and support. But his defense was incredible for a small guy. When he had big fellas running at him, Dom Young down the wing, Greg Maggio on the other side, like he was covering both sides. And I just thought his defensive play in the weekend contributed to us stifling a lot of those Newcastle opportunities. Like, they got some big wingers, man, and they were able to get down on those flanks, down those Warriors on those sides when they were on attack. And I just thought, if not for Taintel Bicky, no slight on Chance. I really enjoy watching Chance play, but Taintel Bicky, man, he was the man, and I enjoyed his contribution to the game. So Taintel Bicky for me this week gets my all eyes on me.
Nice call. Yes, Stacey, how you been? Just that change with he coming in at the back. Your thoughts? How you like that?
Yeah, I actually do. I think it speaks volumes about the culture of the Warriors and just that next man up type mentality. Because you think about, I talked about this before, but you think about the preseason predictions. How are the Warriors going to go without Mitch Barnett? Well, Jackson Ford is leading the Dally M's in his place. Mm-hmm. How are they going to go without Luke Metcalf? Tana Boyd, in my opinion, has been the standout player of the comp so far. And, what are they going to do without Chance? And Taintel Bicky, as you mentioned, Bob, he's been outstanding. We're getting to a point where when someone steps up, you're thinking, shucks, that guy's got to stay in there. There's some tough calls coming up for Webby, which we might have to touch on a bit later in the pod. But you're right. I think Webby talked about it a little bit in his press conference after the game. He just picked you, said, you're in first grade for a reason. I expect you to get out there and do whatever job you're supposed to do. So he's just like, well, Tane, they've got full faith in Taintel Bicky. He's a proven NRL level fullback. And we've got some real depth in the spines. We've got backup fullbacks who are good enough. With the halves is just ridiculous, the depth there. Think about Sam Healy, what he's doing at hooker with Wade Egan. So there's some depth there as well. It's just it's a good time to be a Warriors fan. And Tane, he deserves the award this week. 100% agree with that.
Nice back up there. Your all eyes, bro.
All eyes on me. Not so much a player or a team or anything, but there was a real moment which I saw a little bit of, which I really liked. So my all eyes on me this week goes to Isaiah Katoa from the Dolphins. And yeah, honestly, it's just on the back of this one play that just bloody stopped me in my tracks when I saw it. So the Dolphins, they get the ball. They're sweeping to the left with Herbie, and they're shaping like they're going to attack down that edge. And you can see the Sharks' defense start to compress. So they're bought in that this is what they're going to do. Then suddenly, bang, the ball comes back the other way to the right. And then Katoa gets the ball sort of around close to the post, around the middle of the field. And this is where you see this bloody elite stuff start to happen. So most players would sort of take on the line. They might play short, maybe tip on. But he sees it early. He sees that there's space on the far edge. But it's sort of, here's the thing, how are you going to get it there? The only way he can get it there if he fires and bloody rips a sort of a 30-meter cutout pass. It's quite a high risk, definitely a high risk play. And it's the kind of the pass that, if you get it wrong, you're on the video sessions talking about why you're throwing these miracle balls and all the rest of it. But he just doesn't hesitate. He rips it out and it comes out perfectly straight to Jermaine Sako. So he catches it full straight on his chest, grabs it in his stride, and he just capitalizes, gets in the corner there. So that's single play. It just wasn't, it's not just skill. It's the vision, the confidence, and execution all rolled into that one sort of 5-second video. So when you're seeing young halfbacks like that, pulling off plays like that, you start to realize someone like Katoa, he's not just learning the game anymore, he's starting to really take control of it and manage the whole game plan effectively. So Katoa for me, just for that one play.
Nice. Yeah, that's the play. Like just the way they I think Cronk was covering that game. So it was good to get that breakdown. But yeah, you're right. Just the tempo and how he played that, like I guess, yeah, like you're saying, those are those ones where Walsh will try and fire them, and they're not that long. But yeah, just the image you see, and usually you'll see Walsh and go, oh yeah, it's 4. But man, just the accuracy of him, yeah, just the tip, like, yeah, nothing on, like you're saying, it looked like they were going to go one way, then they bring it back, and just his vision to see it well before everyone else. Yeah, great award. Yeah, and yeah, it is an amazing moment that you can pick that and see that in a young talent like that. I'm going for one of the other very talented halves, a system that Katoa Katoa left. Nathan Cleary, man, I'm not changing my stance on my top 8 as well, but I'm just saying, the way he played last week, he just gets in a mood and, he's just like cocky, he just starts to play like that. And, he's just doing some random kicks, like stuff he must have practiced at training and pulling it out in the game. Like he just looks at different parts of the field and just, I'm going to try this kick. So, yeah, he's, they're back on like that. Probably, yeah, a little noticeable mention of probably To'o, that try that he picked up as well. Yeah, Panthers looking on, but yeah, Cleary just, yeah, I know it's, yeah, these here, we're above them on the table, but they're the Panthers, and they look like they're back. Yokai Kele, Stace, I'll start with you. Who didn't impress you over the weekend?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Cleary, like he was doing, he tried this 40-20 banana kicks. He was doing these no-look passes, running across the field and dummying like you sort of do it, really showing off like you do at training. And you sort of think, on the other side, who's on the other side of that, getting embarrassed, getting shown up, being made fun of because he's sort of treating it like a glorified training run type thing. That's how he didn't think of the Roosters. So, the Roosters are my Gilly of the week.
Definitely.
I'm just thinking about what happened. In the start of the season, they were preseason premiership favourites. And you bring in guys like Cherry Evans, Reece Robson. We're talking about origin players here. Elite talent, and the expectation on the Roosters that, you're ready to contend straight away. But what have we seen so far? We've seen a 40-point pumping from the Warriors and another 40-point drubbing from the Panthers. So, that's not just losing. That's getting completely blown off the park. And, I suppose some of the worrying things, which isn't really new, it's that ill-discipline. It's plagued them for... It's not like they've just started being poorly disciplined. They've been poorly disciplined for years, and that stuff is still sitting there. The penalties, the errors, the lapses in concentration, the kind of stuff that kills you against the top teams. Things start, going against them. There's no composure or anything to really start to steady it. So I have sort of bigger questions around their whole approach, because right now they don't really look like a team. They look like a collection of just elite individuals, and there's a massive difference in that. So you can't just sort of stack up the talent and expect it to click. They're the best teams in the comp. They've got that cohesion. They've got that clarity. They're connected.
It's like a New South Wales team, eh? It's kind of like a New South Wales squad. You look at it on paper and go, "This is a mean team. What's going on?"
Don't hijack my.
When I listen to you, I'm like, I know a team like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thinking about the Roosters right now. You know, they're still trying to buy their premierships, buy their success, and you know, based on what we've seen so far, you think about the Panthers, you think about the Warriors. You know, they're built from within. They've got strong cultures and all the rest of it. And that's how they're getting to the top. So I just have question marks over whether that model of buying stuff, if that works. So yeah, Roosters, Kaea Kele.
Nice call on the Kaea Kele. Bob, just on the Roosters, like you talked about it last week about these teams that are smart. Like their coach is a premiership winning coach. Like it's someone who knows these things. Like when we're saying these top teams, they should be there. And so, do you see them figuring it out? Like how you're saying, you know, these good teams are using that because again, the right places. And then, you know, to their advantage. But I don't know, like, do they have it in them or they're way far from even trying to figure out that stuff?
They've definitely got it in them. I mean, they're not a team of losers. Like they've got heaps of elite players, like Stacey pointed out. I think the biggest issue really is just trying to blend DCE's style of play into how the Roosters are used to playing. Like I feel like that's probably going to be the biggest challenge in writing the Roosters play at the moment. The balance isn't clicking. So these guys have got like tons of experience, tons of rep footy experience, but it's being able to mesh all those individual eliteness into an actual team strategy. Like it just doesn't seem to be clicking for them. And I think DC is probably the biggest issue, really, because, you know, it wasn't DC come in and then the team try and mold around him. Like he needs to try and mold his game to the existing Roosters structure. It's too much to try and ask all of those Roosters players to try and change how they play to fit a DCE style. Like, you know, I don't know how they'll need to overcome it, but, you know, DCE needs to, I guess, try and find a way where he can be coached by Robbo to do the things that Robbo needs him to do to make the team gel a bit better. Because I think that's where their biggest challenge is. Like, yes, he might be able to do some amazing individual stuff like kick a 40-20 or, you know, be the guy that G's the team up and picks them up to try and get them across the line. But if that's not in part of the whole team strategy to get them across the line, then they're going to struggle all year. And I think if they're not able to fix that whole blending in of DC into the Roosters system and how they play the game, then they're going to struggle, I think, and they'll probably find themselves falling out of their 8, and then just being in that big mix of teams that we've seen in the last 3-4 years that all try and battle it out to try and get their 8th spot in the, you know, the back end of the season.
In the middle. Yeah. So, we'll stay on the Roosters for a little bit, Stace, because like Bob was saying, with fixing this is changing out like the way that Cherry Evans plays. How long do you think they persist before they pull the trigger on Savala?
Yeah, that's a good question, eh? Like, he's their high-profile recruit, so they've got to give him the time. It was always going to take a bit of time, like Bob mentioned, for him to adjust and for them to sort of adjust around him, the players around him. I've just got massive question marks over. Like if we look at what happened in that game against the Panthers, I heard Cooper Cronk, I think, was talking about it, but they did what the Warriors did. They just went after him. He was doing 2-3 tackles in one set. They were just going after him and trying to smash him, get tries through there. They got a lot of luck. The Warriors did the same and it worked. So there's massive question marks over his defensive side of the game as well. It's not just the attack that's not working. It's both sides of the ball. You think about the 6 agains and the fatigue that's coming in. If you've got a guy who's already a poor defender and there's fatigue there, you know, it feels like people are really zeroing in on those types of players. We saw Ezra Mam against the, I think it was the Eels a couple of weeks ago, get absolutely destroyed. So
That's right. Yeah.
that's my big issue as well. It's on both sides of the ball. I don't know if they've got Savala there, and it's good to have that backup, but I think they'll give Cherry Evans a bit more time. Still,
Nice, boys. Bouncing back to you, Bob. Your Kaea Kele of the weekend.
Yeah, my guy Kele goes in the same game that Warriors Newcastle. Two plays stand out for me. So it's Newcastle for me. They're getting my guy Kele. Two plays that highlight how really dumb Newcastle are at the moment, and it's a massive fall, and it's danger Will Robinson signs, because you remove Ponga, you remove Dylan Brown, and all of a sudden they look like the 2025 Newcastle Knights, who struggle to score, struggle to try and get cohesion on attack, and they're just, it's like headless chickens, man. So the two plays that stand out for me that make me think they're going to be pretty Kaea without Ponga and Dylan Brown was the Greg Maju falling for a James Fisher-Harris dummy, and then Fish scores his try. Like, he had the perfect opportunity to just put a shoulder and smash it into Fisher-Harris's gut to stop him. Fish goes like this, and then Maju just sort of... I was like, he was never ever going to pass that ball to Talon. And then Fish goes over for his try. And then the other one was that in the dying seconds of the game, where Tyson Frizzell does that little chip, and not just like a big kick to like kick it and get the hell out of here. Does like a tactical chip kick that a half would do when they know that someone's run, like a Billy Slater is about to run onto it, catch it, and run off and score a try. He does a chip kick to like nobody, and it was Frizzell. And it was like I can't even say it was a 50-50 play, because he kicked it to like Watini Zalesniak, who'll eat those sort of chips all day. It wasn't a high ball, it wasn't a test of him jumping up and trying to contest. It was just a nothing kick that he caught, and then Tuobiki, who wasn't even in the frame, saw something on, and then Nick Minute, he's the one that's running onto the ball to get the offload from Dylan to almost score a try, and instead he sets up young Hansen to score his try and debut. So, and for those two plays, and for the fact that they looked really ineffective without Ponga and Dylan Brown, like they really need to start learning how to win games without this super dependency on those two guys not being there. So, yeah, Kaikere for me goes to the Newcastle Knights.
Nice, Bobby. Yeah, real danger signs there without those stars. I don't know, Stacey, do you think they fix it up when Sharp comes back at least, maybe?
Yeah, I rate Sharp. I think he's really good. There's probably question marks over where he fits in. He's probably a fullback first and foremost, and a running 5'8" second. Those are probably the only two positions he can play, which is where Ponga and Dylan Brown are probably best suited as well. So how you fit them all into the team might be a bit of a question mark. But yeah, I like Fletcher Sharp. I think he's a gun. He's a player that can help them out. And you think about last year, they had really problems with scoring points. And through their first two games, at least when they had all hands on deck, it looked like they had fixed their attack a little bit. So yeah, I have high hopes for them, even though that was quite a comprehensive loss at home for them.
Nice, boys. Comments. We'll just quickly jump off to the section from last week. Got a comment here from Putu Potapu 5607. Don't worry, Usos Luke Hansen is the real deal and partnered Boyd to help win the New South Wales Cup. Solid little defender, very good attacker with great short kick. Tana's newfound confidence in the team. Hansen can just concentrate on his role. Very much so, eh? Is that how you guys saw they played out over the weekend? I think it's a fair comment.
So. Yeah. I was impressed with Hansen. You know, you think about, you know, we've got Metcalf, and then we've got Tana Boyd. You think Chanel, Tim Mighty Martin. I think that if Chance was fit, he would have played 5'8". So then you got Luke Hansen, who's possibly the sixth choice guy there after all those names I just mentioned. And he didn't look out of place. He looked okay. It helped that Boyd has found his best ever games that I didn't even think he had. And he did the majority of the kicking. He ran the team, and he was doing everything. And that allowed Luke Hansen to just sort of pick and choose his moments and sort of settle into the game a bit more. Yeah, if we ever had to call on him again, I would feel comfortable that he'd get a job done for us. So it's good again. The depth.
All right. I just wanted to bring up a topic again we saw last week, the 6 again rule. Just what it's doing to the game. So I noticed even in that Broncos games, like guys like Payne Haas and just some of the, even like Jordan Rick, like just some of the bigger players, like I think one of the other podcasts they mentioned it too. Like, well, the coaches just saying it's gonna just the level of fatigue is gonna cause more injuries as well. But just the 6 agains are getting hard to gauge what they're for. And I guess that's where it's getting kind of messy because you just see what's happening in the ruck. Like some of the guys, like to the point they want to be out of it quick, but still want to interfere in the ruck to slow it down enough. And it's almost getting to like touch footy because they're just crowding the ruck, even though because they don't want to be stuck. Because you see guys like physically can't get up that quick, and the refs expecting them to roll or whatever. And so it's just getting. Yeah, I don't know, like just the speed. Some of the stuff I saw over the weekend, I don't know. Maybe teams adjust. Like, how many more weeks do you guys kind of see this before we put it to bed that okay, it's fine, let it just play on? Bobby, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I think if after this round you still haven't adjusted properly to. Like, if we see more blowout scores like we've had in the first 3 rounds, then you'll know that there are teams that are definitely adjusting a lot better than some of these other bottom 8 teams. And yeah, I think it's already too late. Like, you've already had this whole preseason, whole off-season, whole preseason to get your team ready, to get individuals ready. You know, and then that whole preseason tournament that no one really sort of rates. And now we've had the first 3 rounds. It's like, well, teams have already kind of prepped themselves for the whole season. And, you know, teams like the Warriors, teams like the Panthers and Storm, who obviously have gone about it strategically, you know, they've done their normal fitness stuff, and everyone of these other teams has probably gone and done way too much fitness. You know, they've kind of talked about how some teams have approached it from a fitness perspective, and they've really smashed them during the off season around being a lot more fitter, because those 6 games are going to be required to do 20 tackles in a set if it keeps. Whereas other teams are like, no. We just need to be as fit as we were last year and just adjust and be strategic about it and give away the penalty early so that you're resetting properly and your defensive lines are. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but if you're able to execute it properly, and I think that's where the difference will come, is in the teams that are able to execute it better. Like, if you're giving away on the first or the second tackle, then sweet. But if there are teams who still struggle and then are late in the tackle count giving these penalties, they'll just continue to get smashed for it. And, you know, those coaches are right. The fatigue factor is going to be a major consideration for all of these injuries that are likely to happen because players are getting lazy. The hip drop tackles will probably start to, you know, come back, like with that one in the weekend to that. Like, that was a fatigue thing, man. It wasn't a poor tackle technique. It was, he just sort of, and then just slumped on the leg. And I was like, wow, we haven't seen a proper hip drop in such a long time because people have been able to adjust the way that they've tackled. But, you know, fatigue is going to play into a lot more hip drops coming about in the rest of the season, I reckon. And there'll be a lot more injuries just because of that fact. But yeah, if teams haven't adjusted to it already, man, I think it's too late.
I think
you see the rest, yeah.
Yeah, I think sort of in some ways the NRL has made Rod for its own back because the punishment isn't harsh enough to stop teams from doing it. And this is where the strategic penalising starts coming in. If you think about NRL, the team that wins the ruck, like 9 times out of 10 wins the game. So what's better? Is it better to just hold them down and give the way that 6 again, let your defensive line get set or get up early, let them attack you while your defense isn't ready, and then they can punish you. It's better to hold them down, and it's not a full penalty anymore. It's a 6 again. So you think, well, the punishment isn't as bad. I'm just going to strategically do it. Yeah. I'm just going to strategically do it. And this is where we're seeing the bulk of these 6 agains. And if you've got really good defense like the Warriors and the Panthers especially, you'll happily give away a 6 again. The punishment's just not there again to let the opposition win the ruck. It's better for you to hold them down, give it away, back your defense to hold them out. And that's what we're seeing where the NRL, sort of the law of unintended consequences, which I spoke about before, the punishment isn't harsh enough for teams to stop doing it. And this is where the strategic 6 agains coming in.
I think that's the frustration, though, from a lot of these teams, though, is it's not like they haven't clicked. It's that very point you're saying, Stacey. It's just the execution of, like, it's almost like gameplay now. Like how you do that first one to slow down the ruck. If you can either do it well enough to make sure your team's on side, or just get away with it. And I think that's where teams are getting frustrated. Like, it's not clear because it's like, fuck, we did the same thing as them. How come you pinged me, but you didn't see him do it? That's exactly what we're trying to say. I think that's part of it, is this just a bit of tit for tat where they're like, well, fuck, we're all doing it, but you seem to only see when we do it. So, yeah, I think that might creep in, because you're right. Like, there's that obvious one. I think it might have been the Storm game, and you see like there's that, like, where it's not a full tackle, they're not in there, but there's literally just hold their pants down or just kind of keep them grounded for just an extra second. And I think maybe it was Harry Grant got pinged for it. So it's just little things like that where it's literally, you're right, it's tactical just long enough. And if they do get pinged, that's because you see them just staring at their team, waiting to make sure everyone's on side.
You know what I reckon would change it even more is if the NRL were to say that it was ref's discretion. Like, if the ref thought you were just holding them down because you're one of these teams that are just being strategic about it, just give away a full penalty, man. Like, don't. And this talks to a point that Si made last year. He's like, man, what if you're like 2 points down and instead of a 6 again, like, man, I'd take the shot if I had like a really good kicker and then get the points, get the ball back. But 6 again, and then your very first 6 again guy hit up, knocks it on. Then there's no advantage to you, right? Like, you got given 6 again, but you've just knocked it on when, I was right in front of the sticks. I could have taken 2 points, and that would have been better for my team. So I reckon if they introduce ref's discretion, it can either be 6 again or it could be a penalty based on whether the ref thinks you're gaming that rule.
It'll stop that knee jerk where what's his face got 10 minutes, Fletcher Hunt, just because of the repeat. But then it's just like, well, that's extreme. Like, these guys are already getting fussy, and now you get one of them to the bin, like, just with a straight arm. Like,
they're tired. That's why there's all these repeat sets and penalty on penalty.
Nice, boys. What's going on at the Bronx? Couple of things, you guys. Man, straight after the episode last week, Bobby, I don't know if Gordon heard you, so he jumped on the wagon and started dishing it out to Adam Reynolds. So there was a lot of back and forth over the week, but all within a week. The Broncos board, or I don't know who made the decision, pull his name from a conference room and give it to Brigginshaw. So I don't know who's worse, like, who's that a slap in the face worse to? Because it's like, so I don't get my own room, just like, we'll reuse this one and make it your gift, Brigginshaw, like, for all that you've done. Like, cool. So you give me a room named after all this controversy and say it's an honor for me. So it's like, is it petty because they're taking it off Tallis, or just rude to her that she doesn't get an actual thing honored to her, but like, we're angry at this guy, so do you want it? So, I don't know. And now we got Bentel walking out, so there's a lot of crap happening over at the Broncos right now. I'll let you go first, Bob. What's your favourite thing to speak about on the podcast?
Give it up to all the Brisbane Broncos fans, regular listeners out there, including the Gordon Tallis. I don't know what's happening at the Bronx, to be honest. And you know what? It's off-field drama that the team doesn't need. Like, these guys are the reigning champs. They've got every chance of doing back-to-back. Like, they've got the squad to do it. Like, those guys are elite players, man. But it's kind of like, ever since that news broke about old Hakeem Payne-Haas going off at the end of the year, like, it just seems like there's been lots that's happened. Losing the World Cup Challenge, losing the first 2 rounds, their team just looking really disconnected, and it's really showing. And does it have anything to do with Madge? Does it have stuff to do with what's happening in the boardroom and, you know, the leadership in Broncos HQ, the logo changing? All of this stuff has sort of happened, and I don't know. None of it has sort of seemed really positive. The intention might have been positive, and absolutely, I reckon the intent to honour Brigginshaw with something at Bronx HQ is definitely a right call. But yeah, you're right. You know, it's kind of like, wow, we recycled this formerly Gordon Tallis boardroom, and now you can have it as you know, that it kind of. You're right. It does have it would leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, because one hand is like, oh, that's cool, they're naming something after me. And it's a bit stink that if the intent was to spite Gordon Tallis because of his stance on Madge, on Adam Reynolds, and, you know, the boys love our friends, man. You know, JT and Cy talking about Gordon's just a crybaby, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, man, this guy has bled for that jersey. He's sweated buckets for that jersey. He's super passionate. And yeah, he's super passionate about his friend getting the sack the way that he got the sack, and them talking about how it was like a player revolt, and Adam Reynolds led the charge to get rid of him. You know, and I don't know what it is with Madge. He's been a super successful coach. Maybe getting the premiership, and now people are like, well, you know, we've won our premiership now with Madge. I don't really want to go through another year of his brutal ass training regime to try and get another one. No, we've already busted our guts to win one. I don't know. I don't know if that's the truth, but, you know, Ben Teal's leaving now. It's like, well, what the heck is going on? Again, it's off-field drama that the Bronx don't need. They've had so many consecutive years now in recent times with off-field stuff. Usually it's in the off-season. You know, Reynolds having fights with bloody Carrigan, and at like Broncos breakup parties, you know, all of the Bali rubbish, bloody Reece Walsh getting into trouble in Bali, and Ezra Mann with all of his drunk driving and silliness. It's like, all of this off-field stuff, man, it's only going to be to their detriment on-field. And you can't tell me that it's not impacting on the way that they're playing on, you know, week in, week out. And, like, good on them for beating the Storm. But the Storm were their own worst enemies in terms of trying to execute some of the stuff that didn't come off. Like, fuck, how many times did they botch tries in the weekend against the Broncos? So that could have been really ugly for the Bronx, but thankfully for them and their fans, like, they were able to hold them out. And yeah, I don't know, it was an unconvincing win. Yes, if that was the Warriors, I'd take the dub too, but it was unconvincing, man, and they're going to have a really strong challenge again this week against the Dolphins. So I don't know, it's all stuff they don't need, you know. And I'm Brigginshaw. I'm going, I don't know, is that really an honor? It kind of feels like you're just using my name to rub salt into your big FUs to Gordon Tallis. And, man, Tallis has every right to be as passionate as he is. Like, that's the reason why he's on these radio shows and why his opinion matters, because he's an ex-player that's been there, done that, and he doesn't filter. Like, he's one of those old school players that just doesn't filter. And if you're one of those people that, like, you know, any sort of publicity is good publicity, well, it's bringing eyes to the game. Like, everyone's talking about it. It's news. But if I'm the Broncos, I'm like, man, it's stuff we don't really need. We're meant to be defending champions. We're not meant to be, trying to chase down the Panthers. Yeah, I don't know. It's not good for the game overall if all of this crap that's going on. But yeah, we'll see how they handle it this week.
Yeah, Stacey, your views on Tio walking out? He is a big part of that defensive system.
Yeah. In isolation, you sort of think maybe they might have had a disagreeing of opinions and all the rest of it, which happens a lot. But I suppose you sort of wonder, it's okay to disagree with what other people say. Criticism is part of growth and all the rest of it. But for him to walk out feels a bit strange. And, if you add that on to everything else, the Gordon Tallis stuff, the Payne Haas leaving and the criticism of Madge, it feels like there's a lot going on there off the field, which is potentially causing issues off the field, particularly with that stuff with Tallis. Is coming back to what Bob you mentioned before, because I don't agree with a lot of what Tallis has to say. I think he talks a lot of trash, but it feels quite personal.
I played every game. He's had out a whole season.
Yeah, exactly. And you could see he was rattled. He started pulling out, "I've played the game you never played," and those types of ones. So it does feel like Tallis has gone a bit too far. He's made it quite personal. And you go back to when Kevy was sacked. That's one of his closest mates. So, and ever since then, there's been a clear edge to his criticism of the Bronx. It's not just analysis. There's this real emotion behind it. So I actually understand why the Bronx might be quite frustrated. But, in saying that, it's still petty. It's still a petty move for them. You think about who Tallis is, he's one of the greatest ever players. Like you mentioned, Bob, he's played for that jersey. He's a guy who helped to define who the Broncos were at the peak of their powers through those 90s and through their strongest ever era. So you can't just erase that just because you don't like what he's saying in the media. And that's sort of the key difference. You think about some of the strong clubs, they can absorb a lot of those criticisms. They don't react to it. So I just want to talk, if you think about sort of Ali Brigginshaw as well, what you touched on, no issue with her getting that recognition. She deserves it 100%. She's been a leader, a winner, a huge part of the Broncos' success in the NRLW. But it's sort of the timing and everything that feels a little bit off. It doesn't come across as a celebration for her. It just feels like, we're going to shit on Gordy type thing. And they come across quite thin-skinned. So I actually feel quite bad for Ali Brigginshaw a little bit. She's sort of been dragged into something that's not really her issue. 100% she deserves all the recognition in the world. She's, in my opinion, the greatest ever Broncos NRLW player in their history. But, just the way that it's happened just doesn't quite sit right. Instead of, being a moment about us celebrating what she's done and everything that she's achieved, it's now tied into the situation with Gordy and the club's response to his criticism. So that's a bit unfair on her. It's not clean. That should just stand on their own when you honour these types of players. So that's what I don't really like. No one's saying, "Oh, how good is this for Ali Brigginshaw?" Everyone's saying, "Oh, how petty are the Broncos looking right now?" And that's just taking away from what should be a really special acknowledgement. So I think the Bronx, the way they're handling things, they come across quite thin-skinned in a lot of this. So,
Yes, we will see this week. You're right, Bob. We'll see how they play. We'll touch on those previews as we get to it. Before we get to the preview, the review of last week's game, I was gonna ask the question: what do we do when Metcalf's fit? But I see the team list, his name and fit. So I think he's been watching Tana like, oh hell no, I need to get out on that field. You guys' thoughts? Would you have brought him back in straight in? Would have left him on the sidelines, maybe on the bench, Stace?
Well, I don't know. This is the best ever starter. I'd have to check the records, but I don't know if we've had a start as good as this. I think I saw someone was mentioning just the amount of stats that the Warriors are leading. Obviously, coming first on the table, they've got the best attack. They've scored the most tries, the most try assists, and all this other stuff, most meters. Our position is the highest, and all this other sort of stuff. So I am wary of changing a winning team. But, if you remember what Metcalf was, who he was last year, I mean, he's got to get put back in that team eventually. I might have brought him in off the bench, or maybe put him in, give him 1 week in New South Wales Cup or something, because he hasn't played for a long period. Similar to what Barnett was done. I think that they brought him off the bench and used him in that way. I would have tried that way as well. And you think about Chanel, like he's really done nothing wrong at all to be dropped in. And like you talk about Taintor Picky's another guy. He was outstanding. He won all eyes on me for you, Bob. Again, I mean, there's some tough decisions that have to be made when your team is playing as good as they are. So this is one of those ones. And, I trust Webby. You think this guy knows what he's doing. So you've got to give him that benefit of the doubt on that front.
Yeah, I guess we saw last week, Bob, like anyone who steps in there, Tana's playing so well that they just need to kind of work in with him. And I guess I trust maybe as well in those systems. Maybe it is just an easing in. He won't do as much and maybe just kind of play in and out. Like, I don't know. How do you think he's going to do? I don't know. Is he a natural 5'8" or is he a halfback?
Well, he played 5. Was he 5'8" and Sean was half, or was it the other way around? So he's had experience playing at 5'8", and I think he'll know his role too. Like, he's seen the amazing start that Tana's had to the beginning of the season, and I don't think Luke will want to get in the way of that, and I don't think he'll want to stifle any of Tana's creativity. I think Tana will still be running both sides, and that will just allow Luke to fall into that same sort of role that Hansen played last week, where he can just pick and choose, and he doesn't have to overplay his hand. He is just coming back from a long layoff of injury, so he can just ease his way into it. It'll be a good challenge for him too, because the Tigers have been playing, they've been playing all right, and I think they'll probably get a bit of a reprieve without having to go up against Luai, because I think he's off with his injury from last week's game. I see that Dewey's back in with that hamstring that troubled him when he limped off at the end of the game last week. But I'm interested to see if old Bunty R4 gets a shot. He's named at 18, so you never know. There could be an injury that will force Bunty to come into the game if he's called on. So that'd be cool if Bunty's able to get a shot to run out against the boys. But this is probably the strongest the team's looked in a long time. They get Pompey back. Chances back, fullback. Like, this is their number one starting team, I reckon. Far out. They're looking pretty strong. And Mitch, I don't know if he'll stay on the interchange bench for too long. I think once he's got a few games under his belt, he'll probably be back out starting. Not to say that Jackson hasn't done an amazing job leading Dally M. So, man, we're in a good space at the moment. Yeah, Webby's got some really good headaches. So, good luck to him for trying to pick the team in the next few rounds.
All right, boys. We've talked about it, a few different parts of it. Anything else you guys want to just pull out of that Knights Warriors game? Probably first thing for me is the crowd. Like, I was shocked at the Warriors support over there. Just hearing the Warriors, and then seeing the videos, and then seeing Aaron bang the drum. I'm like, oh, this guy. But man, yeah, just real good scenes. Just hearing it through the I don't know. I heard a boo at the end. Hopefully that wasn't for the Knights again. I know that happened last year, so that's pretty cold. Because they were down their two best stars as well, so that's harsh of that crowd. But I don't know. That's those Knights fans for you. Anything else from you, Stace? Just what kind of? I know it's hard. Like, it was the Knights, so we've had a good run. Like you're saying, all those stats. But yeah, just out of that game.
Yeah, good point about the fans. I think I watched the replay because I was out and about, and whoever was doing the commentary, his name escapes me. He mentioned, "Oh, good win for the Warriors in Auckland," because he's so sidetracked
Yeah,
by
good
the crowd, and then he goes, "Oh no, sorry, they're going back to Auckland. This ain't Auckland." But they support the Warriors are getting mad support, obviously here, but just everywhere they seem to go. They're quite a big draw for whichever team that they're playing in Australia as well. They support a bit different over there as well. They got some different songs. I heard them singing some different stuff as well. So good to see. Just on the game itself, just one of the things, I thought that the scoreline didn't tell the full story. Because what the Warriors showed there was basically their culture in action. So you look at that left edge on paper that started the game. You've got Morgan Gannon on NRL debut. He's playing the left edge back row. Luke Hansen on debut. He's the half on the left-hand side. You've got Leka Halasima, who's normally a back rower, playing left centre. A whole new combination, guys that have never played together, a lot of inexperienced guys there. And you're sort of thinking, pre-game, I was thinking anyway, that this is where the Knights are going to go after that edge there. And to be fair, they did try a few times, but the Warriors just kept turning them away. And then early on, you look at Morgan Gannon. He gets that HIA, he doesn't return. Pretty harsh on him on debut. Yeah. But from that point, it's a bit of musical chairs. So Jacob Laban was playing right edge back row. He switches from the right to the left. Rada New Kore comes on. He plays on the right edge. They bring Mitch Barnetta, comes on. He plays a little bit in the middle. Then he moves to the left edge to take over from Laban. Then he plays a little bit on the right. Jackson Ford played in the middle. Then he moves to the right edge when Aaron Clark comes back on. So they had 5 different guys playing each back row in that one game. And for all that chaos, the standards just don't drop. And to me, that was one of the key takeouts of the game. You talked about Taintor Piki earlier, stepping in for Chance. He was outstanding. He's safe. He's composed. And like I talked about it earlier, but he is an NRL level fullback. And so what this game shows me is sort of and we've touched about this a little bit on the press conference. It doesn't matter what jersey you're wearing, what number you got. You're expected to go out there and just do your job. No excuses, no drop in effort, no drop in the details. And that's not just about the depth of the Warriors. That's about the belief that they have in the systems. So when you've got that next man up mentality across the squad, that's what turns a team from, I don't know if I should say it, but, contenders to, contenders, man. So they're dangerous, man, hard out. That was a good one.
Yeah, I thought the Knights' discipline let them down real bad. Like, it's hard enough when they don't have Ponga and Dylan Brown, that the elite level X Factor players in your team. But man, they conceded 11 penalties. They had 15 errors. And because of their lack of discipline, they had 3 people placed on report and they had 2 sin bins. So, that 20-minute period when they were down to 12, like the Warriors capitalized on that and really made them pay. So, yeah, the scoreline looks a bit blown out, but it's because there were 2 periods where they only had 12 players on the field. So, they were their own worst enemy at times, and that whole fatigue thing kicked in. They were just giving away 6 again penalties, and it just compounded, and they just weren't able to get back into the game. So, and good on the Warriors for just putting the foot on the throat, man, and never letting up, because that's what you want to see the boys do against. I don't want to say lesser opposition, but in recent times the Knights have been lesser opposition. But in also recent times they've been able to beat us. So yeah, I think it's good that when the team is that ill-disciplined, has had that many players put on report, has had that many sin binnings, we should definitely be putting them to task. And 38-12 I thought was all right. So good on them. It was a good game.
Let's get straight over to the Kalava Cup. What happened, Bobby? You guys had your matchup over the weekend. I thought you might have been able to nab this one with Stace losing Couchman to... Yeah, you had a few up, Stace.
Oh, did he? I didn't even notice. It was that last game. I had nobody playing in that last game, and I was on that whatever my score was, and I saw that Stacey still had 4 players, and in my mind I was thinking, well, if he gets an average of 30 points per player, I'll still be ahead. He needs like 1 player to have like really good score, man. And then I think he scored like 160 or 70 points off those 4 players in that last round. It just, yeah, bloody hell. Those St. George boys really brought you home.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what happened in the draft, but I ended up with lots of dragons, and I'm thinking, I think I've stuffed this this draft up a little bit. But you're right; they've actually been pretty good. So, a couple of guys out this week, so it's struggle street. I've had some close wins. So people look at on the table, I'm 3-0 undefeated, but I haven't been. I'm not the Warriors. I'm not blowing teams off the park. I've just had a lot of close ones, and that was sort of another sort of close one again. So
nice round, boys. Rounding up the table, Mike still on top. God Squad, Stace rounding into second. Clutch City coming in at third. Getting some early runs on the board there, Clutch City. Bobby taking out 4th place. Myself taking 5th, and Golden Elite's moving to 6th. But yeah, Bronx wallowing down at the bottom there. I'm not sure if he's started playing yet. Maybe he might think those night shifts. He hasn't been had a chance to adjust his team, so we'll see how he goes next week. We've got Clutch City taking on Mandingo, Tryhards taking on All Madden. But yeah, Bronx, easy win there, Stace. Unless this guy gets in action, starts doing something to his team. First place God Squad takes on Golden Elise, and Bob, you got another hard one, mate. You're taking on these now. We'll see how we go for next week. Let's jump into the previews for next week. Keep it short and sharp. Come to you, Bobby. Manly Roosters.
Roosters. Man, you know what? I probably would have thought the Roosters, but given their recent rubbish form, this is a coin toss game for me, man. Both these teams are just they're not appealing to watch at the moment. But just because on paper the Roosters seem better, I'm going to pick the Roosters.
Yeah, I brought this up earlier. The defense of the Roosters has been poor, and particularly on those edges. And both the Warriors and the Panthers have smoked Cherry Evans on his side. And I'd love to see Brooks going after that edge with Wallace. So I think they can get some luck there. I'm going to go and upset. I'll go Seagulls on that one. Close one.
Ooh. Probably bottom. Sooners. Yeah. Just after all the drama last year, I want to see Manly win this just to say goodbye to that guy. Friday game, boys. You guys going down? Gonna go weather the storm. Nice.
Weather dependent.
How you guys see
weather
this?
dependent?
I might wear my green poncho this time.
Aaron, Mike Powell, because Mike Powell's son sits there, he's in front, and he's like got his thing on, and I'm like, bro, you guys look like Raiders supporters. He's like, no, he starts ripping it off. Yeah, that was a setup. Why are they gonna bring orange Gatorade this week? Tough game for the Tigers. They look real good on the first week. Luai's out. Dewey pulled through, so he'll be playing. I don't know. It looks like I'm calling it 4 on the trot for the Warriors. Bobby?
Yeah, I reckon it'll still be the Warriors, but I think the Tigers will probably be a bit more of an unknown. When they've got Luai there, he's a real flippin' frenetic player, right? You can't really sort of defend against him. Looks like he's going to go left. Looks like the ball's going to go left. Then he'll step right and the ball's coming right. Like nothing seems to play to any sort of process with Jerome, and that's just how he is. It'll probably be a bit more structured with Jock Madden in there. So I think because there's no unknown for the Tigers, which can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, like I think it'll be 13 plus for the boys for for mine.
Yep.
Warriors all day.
Yep. Big changes to a winning team. We talked about it a little bit before, but I'm excited. This on paper, at least, feels a bit more closer to our best team. And theoretically, we've been dominant with those key players out. But, Metcalf, Pompey, CNK all back. It's harsh on the likes of Tane and Chanel, but just the Warriors have unreal depth. Loy out, I'm with you. That's a big loss. But I hear the rain could be pouring, so I'm picking Tana Boyd again. His kicking game's been elite. He's going to kick them to death in the rain. So I'm also going to go the Warriors to 13 plus on that one.
Nice. Bronx Finns, Battle of Red Hill. Only Payne Haas. Yeah, I didn't see him get injured in the end of last week, but Payne Haas out. Sebastian Stewart out for the Dolphins. Come back to you, Bobby.
These games are always fun to watch. That whole Brisbane rivalry. Again, this is probably a coin toss. The Broncos on paper look like they should win this, but the Dolphins are real unknown, right? Like on their day, they make you look silly, and they've gone toe to toe with the Broncos in the past. So shit, I don't. This will probably be the Broncos in a close one. I reckon the Dolphins aren't going to make it easy for them, but Bronx should win this one.
Nice.
Yeah, Haas out is a big loss. I can see that they get Tom Flegler back on the Dolphins side. That doesn't still swipe to me. I think that ball's right on paper that the Bronx have got them. But I think those off-field issues are something. So I'm going to go the Dolphins to win 13 plus and those off-field issues of the Bronx to haunt them.
To collapse.
Fish rots from the head down, man. The head down.
You're right. Oh, yeah, that's a big call. Like, it'll be interesting. Reynolds back in. Ben Hunt dropped back to the bench to start with Corey Pax. But, yeah, that should be a good matchup. Hammer and Reese as well. I think the Bronx get up for it and Katoni doesn't. My house again. Dogs Knights. Stace?
Yeah, Fletcher Sharp back. We talked about that a bit before. He's got the X factor, that running threat. So that's a big bonus for them. They needed him last week, but I've got question marks over their resilience. Some of these Knights and the Bulldogs' defense is normally top notch. I'll go the Bulldogs at home. Not a blowout, a close one, but Bulldogs to get it done.
Yeah, Knights without Ponga, without Dylan Brown, they're just really susceptible to getting blowout scores. I think. I'm picking the Doggies, and they probably will be 13 plus in this one. But I did call the Doggies for 13 plus in the first round, and they didn't do it. So
yeah,
but calling it this time.
It's a good point. Like Doggies is struggling for points. So last week too. Yeah, let's check one on the Knights. Just with that sharp back in. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe the Dogs are trying to do too much. They just didn't look. They've got their systems right, quite right. Like there's, I don't know. It almost just seems rusty, like clunky. What's happening right now, or Galvin? So. Yeah, I think the Knights just get over them for this one. So I'll go Knights in this. Panthers, Eels. Eels seem to get up for this game. They've gotten them last couple of years in these games as well. Mid-season, the Eels just seem to step up and kind of show. That's when people start getting excited about the Eels. It's when my brother cries because they do that to the Panthers and then they go back to being caught by. But your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, I'll say Panthers. Well,
Panthers probably won't be close. They'll probably hang with them for about half an hour, maybe, the Eels, and then there'll be floodgates.
Yeah, the six agains really suit the Panthers, actually, because, like we talked about before, you're not getting severely punished for giving away these six agains, and it allows you to set your defence, and the Panthers have had the best defence for a long period of time. They built their 4 premierships on great defence. So they're going to be tough to beat. I'm going to go Panthers as well, 13 plus. Another blowout.
Yeah. You're already seeing the teams that, if they can't adjust, it's just anything. Cowboys Storm. Stacey?
Yeah, I rate the Storm. I think that they are an elite team. I think that they've been a great team for a long period of time. They're the type of team that they have that bounce back factor in them. And they'll be disappointed with that loss that they got against the Broncos, a game they probably should have won. They've got that Crusaders mentality in them where in Super Rugby, if the Crusaders lose one week, whoever they play the next week normally gets freaking smashed. And this is what I think is going to happen to the Cowboys. I reckon the Storm are going to bring the fury. They should have won that game last week. And they're going to take it out on the Cowboys. I'm going to go Storm 20 plus, 30 plus.
That bet on. Bob?
Yeah, I agree. Storm will smash the Cowboys in this game.
Raiders Sharks. This will probably be a good game, actually. Probably about there or thereabouts, kind of a good tester. We're not really sure where either of these teams are at right now. I'm going to go...
Yeah, this is a tough one to pick, actually. This might be the game of the round. Two teams, I'm just looking at where they are on the table, sort of 10th against 14th. I think they're both better than where their table position has them there. I'm with you a little bit there, Tons. I can see Brendan Likora out, which is probably offset by Josh Papali'i out, which makes it close, like we talked about. But I'm with you. I think the halves of the Sharks, a little bit more class there. They'll go the Sharks to get it done with their halves doing a bit better.
Man, these guys let me down when I picked them last week against the Doggies. I tipped them to be, it was going to be close, but I tipped them to win at home. And then they kind of fell off and they did some real stupid, silly things and just allowed the Doggies to get that ascendancy over them. So I ain't falling for that banana in the tailpipe trick again, man. I'm going to pick the Sharks, even though the Raiders are playing at home again. I don't know. These two teams have both been super inconsistent to start the year. Like, they look the goods, and then the next minute they drop off, and both of them have been guilty of displaying some real inconsistent form. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Sharks for this one.
Sharks, sleep for that. We'll call this game. Just give me your predictions. I don't know if you guys are actually going to watch it. Titans, St. George. Unless you got a family member, you're going to be watching this game.
I can just have a look now. 16th against 17th. I'm not going to be watching it. There's some good stuff with the movies. That Tana, My Name is Spiky, looks pretty good. I might have a check if there's any sessions on there. I won't be watching it.
Titans. Bobby?
Titans for me. Only because I don't like Carl Flanagan. He sucks. And like St. George, they've sort of shown glimpses of what they can do, but they're another one of those teams that just doesn't seem to click. Like, they don't seem really connected, and I think Carl Flanagan has a lot to do with that. It's like every good thing that Atkinson does gets undone by some stupid Flanagan play. Like Atkinson's trying his guts out, and it just doesn't seem to be finding that balance in the halves pairing, and his spine seems a bit all over the place. Cookie looks to be a bit lost, like he's missing his South Sydney jumper. And Gutho just
tries to, Oh, Gutho.
Yeah, Gutho just looks like he's like the older, slower version of Reece Walsh. He's trying to win everything off every play, but he just doesn't have that same speed. Oh yeah, effort absolutely. Doesn't have the speed. Doesn't have that eliteness that Reece Walsh has. So yeah, I'm picking the Titans to win this one at home. Well, neither of these teams have won, so one of them's going to stay winless after this weekend.
All right, got a little multi there, boys. Got any little things we can chuck into a little quick multi?
I'll go for Haumole to get a double. I'll go Haumole to get a double. I don't like that Cherry Evans. This defense has been exposed in two of their beatings. If Luke Brooks can get Haumole running at him, I think he's good for a couple of tries. He hasn't got enough good quality ball as well, so I'll go Haumole double there.
Storm 13 plus, Fatlongo to score a double. And why not just chuck in a Will Warbrick anytime try scorer there too?
That's what we need.
Haumole double, Storm 13 plus, Fatalongo double, and a Warbrick anytime. Nice, boys. Gamble responsibly as always. Final words, Bobby.
Final words. Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Passed away this past week, so I just want to say rest in peace to the man that took on Bruce Lee in The Way of the Dragon. He's been an inspiring action hero to young Polynesians all around the world, but I'm sure like you boys, the 80s were full of those action heroes, and Chuck Norris was one of them, so rest in peace to a legend.
Nice call out. Stacey, how's Whisper?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, everyone's comments throughout the podcast, and, I guess what stands out for me this week is just the contrast between teams that are building something and teams that are still trying to figure it out. So if we look at the Warriors, that win over the Knights wasn't just about the 2 points. It spoke a lot about the identity of the Warriors and who they are. So guys moving positions, you've got debutants stepping in to fill gaps, combinations changing on the fly, and the standards just don't drop. And that speaks a lot about the culture and the clarity of the club. So everyone knows their role, and more importantly, they own it. So talk about some of these highlight moments. You got young Katoa there, young players not just participating in games but starting to take control over them. So that's just that next evolution in play there, and that's how contenders are built. So on the flip side of that, unfortunately, you've got clubs like the Roosters and the Broncos where the conversation isn't just about the footy anymore. It's about the cohesion and the culture and how they're handling that pressure. So, we know through the history of NRL, talent alone doesn't win you the competition. So, sides like the Roosters are stacked, but they look a little bit disconnected. The Bronx are trying to set standards, but maybe, in my opinion, reacting a little bit too much to the noise around them. So, and that seems to be the theme right now. The best teams are the ones that stay grounded in who they are, regardless of what's happening externally. Because over the course of the season, it's not just the loudest teams that rise up, it's the teams that are the most aligned. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that.
All right, Stacey. Nice observations over the pod. Nothing else from me. Just thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the boys here on the 135 Footy Show. If you've stayed and listened this long, please go give us a like and subscribe over at the home on YouTube, the WesWes Sports channel. And also go check us out and all the other podcasts at WesWesNet.com and all our social media platforms. But for today, we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.